All right. Well, welcome to another post-game wrap up here on the Y Ball Starters. We've got a fun one, actually. Well,
Oh boy,
uh,
very fun.
subjectively fun. We had the. All right. Well, welcome Oops, sorry. 1 second. Post-game wrap up here. Sorry about that. Slight technical difficulty. Just like the Portland Trailblazers tonight, as they fall to the Denver Nuggets, 120 to 115. It was a rough game. Denver got hot early. They hit a season high in 3-pointers, and Nikola Jokic had a huge game along with none other than Austin Rivers. John, I want to know kind of what you saw from tonight's game.
Yeah, Denver got hot early with Jokic and the others, and then stayed hot late with Austin Rivers kind of taking over there in the fourth. They stayed. Portland didn't do a great job of closing out, so we saw a lot of open shots, particularly in the second quarter from Denver, and that's when they were the hottest from three. Kind of built their lead in the first half and early in the third quarter before Portland. They kind of kept it close late in the third quarter and into the fourth quarter, but they didn't quite have enough to get over the hump. I don't believe they took the lead in the second half, and just couldn't quite get there. The offense was pretty inconsistent for Portland. They would go on little spurts, but they could never really string stops together, at least not consistently. Get one stop every couple possessions, but Denver kind of kept them at bay whenever they went on mini spurts.
Yeah, that was the thing is tonight there was just no defensive continuity, and that was definitely something that hung over from game two. And it was disappointing to see because I felt like at the start of the game there was a lot of energy by Portland. They really came out. They were rotating well. They were really picking up the guards near half court, near the 3-point line. And they're really hanging with them. And Denver did hit a lot of tough shots to start the game. You just got to credit good offense there. But as it got into the second quarter and Portland's first rotation came with the bench players, once again, Kanter was just a huge liability. I think what was it? He was negative 15 in the plus or minus. And sometimes the plus or minus lies a little bit. That didn't lie. Kanter was terrible. He cannot stay. He's just not at this point of Nikola Jokic's career. He's just too good for Kanter. And right now, Kanter as well is just getting absolutely exposed. He's not even rebounding well right now. Like there was the putback that I think it was either Jokic or Gordon. I can't remember which, but one of them, I think it was Jokic. Jokic basically moved Kanter out of the way, which could have been an offensive foul, but it was the one where he had the flagrant one foul for hitting Jokic in the face. But it's just defensively, this team just cannot stay engaged for 48 minutes, and offensively as well. There's just been no total engagement for 48 minutes. What were some of the other things that you saw, John? I guess related to defense that kind of led to this loss.
Yeah, well, kind of touching on the situation that you just mentioned, Kanter was absolutely unplayable, unfortunately, today. But he picked up that flagrant late in the third, I believe, or early in the fourth, and he didn't play after that. They brought in Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, kind of brought some energy. Late in the third. Yeah, he kind of brought some energy. So it'll be interesting to see going forward if they continue with Rondae. Kind of helped with the defense a little bit. Just because Kanter was so late, whether they brought him out or they're playing him inside, he just was too late. So it'll be interesting to see if they keep playing Rondae Hollis-Jefferson. But yeah, Portland, they were slow on the rotations, and it's just there was no continuity. The help defense was either like way too overcommitted, leaving someone else wide open, or it was super late, leaving someone to go right to the rim. And it's like it's not necessarily a bunch of like dudes that don't know where to be. It's just the continuity on defense. The help isn't right, and it isn't timely, and it isn't aggressive. And so teams are able to just slowly meander their way through it. Portland's not making Jokic uncomfortable at all. So he's really able to do whatever he wants down low at whatever pace he wants. And when he's able to control the game, I mean, it's pretty hard to beat Denver. They got to find a way to control the game. and let Dame be the one that controls the pace.
Well, I think that the thing that Denver's done really well from game one, in game one, I think it really threw them off that Portland was so committed to Nikola Jokic, and it really showed. He only had one assist in. The role players on Denver had a terrible game that game. And we have to remember, too, Portland was only up by, I want to say it was 4 points in that game with 5 minutes left. And Portland really outplayed Denver that game. So in the 2 games now that we've had where Denver has outplayed Portland, we've seen Denver control game 2. And honestly, Portland had it close here. They tied it up in the fourth quarter. They got it back down to, I mean, it was 3 points there, and Morris misses 2 free throws there at the end before Jokic, in a very timely and poetic manner, puts back the off the miss. But I just, at this point, I think that we're seeing one team play like a team and one team play like a bunch of individuals. And for those of you who aren't familiar with our podcast, we're Pacific Northwest based, so we are Portland fans here. And this is something that we've seen all year with Portland is they don't play like a team. They don't move the ball around like a team. And on the flip side, you've got Denver, who moves the ball around like a team. They're always driving. They're always cutting. They're always looking for the open man. They're looking for where rotation on the weak side isn't. Like, they're making the right plays over there. Whereas Portland, a few dribbles, look for the first open shot that you've got. And it's so frustrating to watch.
Yeah, it's frustrating. It's kind of funny. Like, Portland, it feels like they pretty much score every single time they move the ball or cut. So it's kind of funny to not see it more, whether that be like you only see the successes or you see what you want to see. But like, it feels like Portland, just whenever they move the ball, it works, but they just don't move the ball. They want their own shot. And yeah, they've got to adjust, because right now they're just playing into the hands of the Nuggets, because they're missing jump shots and allowing for runouts, and Denver's just flat out beating them up the floor. If they're playing in the half court, they've got to find a way to control Nikola Jokic, because man, he's being able to get anyone on the court anything that they want, and that's just not going to work.
Yeah, which is crazy, because still, even at that, it hasn't been Jokic necessarily directly who's been getting the assists. I mean, there's another game where he only had 5 assists. Yeah. So it's not like he's going out here and getting triple doubles, but it's the gravity that he's been able to get with Portland defenders has been a huge reason why a lot of these other guys, these role players on Denver, have been able to get open shots. And credit to them too. They're, again, like I just said, they're a really good team and they're playing within their role. Before the series started, I kind of thought that Portland's talent was going to outplay Denver's continuity, and I probably should have known better than that watching Portland all season. And I still think it's only 3 games into the series. I don't have much faith in a coach like Terry Stotts to actually make adjustments. Seeing him put in Rondae Hollis-Jefferson was an interesting twist. So we'll see if he sticks with that or not. But I mean, hey, Denver's, when you shoot 20 of 38 from the 3-point range, you're not going to lose many games, especially since I believe that was a season high for Denver.
Yeah. And it's going to be interesting. After game 1, it was hard to imagine what game 2 is going to look like, because just Portland outplayed them and looked like a better team. And so Denver was really in need of adjustments, and they had to make adjustments. And so now Portland's going to be in that situation. Now they are the one that's one down in the series. Now a really best of 5 series that they're one down of. So now they're going to have to make adjustments, because they just, for 2 games, they have not looked like a better team. They've been outplayed on both sides of the ball. So now they're going to have to make adjustments, because obviously their help scheme on Jokic is not working. I mean, like your point, Kendall, Jokic didn't have a ton of assists, but because of the doubles, because of untimely doubles and late rotations back, he was leading to a lot more points than just what's showing up in the stat sheet.
Yeah.
And so they've got to find a way to both be able to guard, at least slow him down a little bit, but be able to get back to the shooters, because these dudes are just hitting whatever they want.
Yeah, they are. And responding to the comment here by Not Swift, he says CJ and Dame were off from behind the arc. Everyone was. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. I mean, the Blazers pulling up the sheet here, they only shot 14 of 45, so 31%. I mean, yeah, that's not going to win you games. And obviously, Portland, they shot really well game one, and they've been one of the better three-point shooting teams in the league this year. So I would expect that to revert to some degree. Obviously, Denver's not going to shoot 20 of 38 again, and Portland's probably not going to shoot that bad. But you have to look at how the last couple of games have gone. And that's kind of the point that I'm trying to get to, is that look at the way Denver's playing versus look at the way Portland's playing. Look at how Portland's getting their 3-pointers and look at how Denver is. The way Denver is getting to that 3-point shot in the first place, even if their players aren't as talented as Portland's are, which I don't believe they are, outside of Porter Jr. and Jokic offensively, at least.
Probably AG.
AG to some degree. I mean, I still like a lot of Portland shooters over AG.
Yeah.
But they're setting themselves up for good looks, and good looks are going to outdo talent and one-on-one step back shots all the time. I'll take that any day of the week. And that's just something that we don't have when we have an iso-centric offense with Dame, CJ, even to some degree, Carmelo, although I felt like he played a little bit better as a role player today than he did in game two.
Yeah, Dame and CJ had to take a lot of tough looks. We got to find a way to get them easier looks. Because I mean, just with what they had to work with tonight, I mean, it's hard to shoot any better than what they did. So they're gonna need to find a way to get them more rhythm, more set shots, work them off the ball. I'm not sure. We're gonna have to make some adjustments because Denver so far has really outplayed Portland. I think they've seemed to figure something out. So Portland's now going to need to make adjustments to come back.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we've got game 4 coming up Saturday. It's also at the Moda Center at 1:00. I'm going to be interested to see what we do differently. At this point, I think a lot of it's just going to be I just don't think Kanter's playable right now. Another thing too is Nurk has played really well. Nurk has played incredible. I know that he's still giving up. I mean, Jokic is going to get his points. Like, we just don't. Portland doesn't have anybody on the roster who's going to stop Nikola Jokic. Like, they just don't. Not many teams do at all, outside of maybe Philadelphia and Joel Embiid. I know he gives him problems, but I think what you got to do is match Nurk and Jokic's minutes together, and then honestly, since Denver isn't playing JaVale McGee and isn't really playing a true center necessarily with their second unit, I think that you just got to go with Covington at the 5 and Jefferson at the 4, Hollis Jefferson at the 4, and kind of play out your 1 through 3 from there, however they decide to put the rotation.
Yeah, I think everything is going to stem for defense. I think a lot of what had to do with Portland's offensive struggles was the fact that they're facing a set defense every time. Portland needs to find a way to get easier looks, and I think that starts on the defensive end. I agree with Kendall. I think Nurkic is going to have to try and match Jokic's minutes, and then Portland's just going to have to go smaller. Denver's playing Paul Millsap on their second unit, so Portland's going to be able to match going small. So Portland's going to need to find a way to get stops and be able to run out in the break, get in transition, see if they can find some easier looks, because they're setting up against a wall. Denver's figured out something defensively against Portland, so they've got to find some way to get easier looks.
Yeah, definitely. And Not Swift also says, when Hollis Jefferson came in, I just saw him with insane energy. I think we should try him a few more times. Yeah, I completely agree with that. I had been kind of watching the game. I had been wanting DJJ to get out there, but honestly, Hollis Jefferson might be better for this matchup just because DJJ, we don't utilize DJJ's strengths on offense, which is cutting. So that's not going to happen unless if it's a rare Nurk pass to him off a cut. But Hollis Jefferson, he's just more beefy. He's just better built. And Denver with guys like Paul Millsap or Aaron Gordon or JaMychal Green. I think that's better matchups for Hollis Jefferson rather than DJJ. I think DJJ would get bullied pretty bad on the inside if we were to try and put him up. But I'm definitely going to be curious to see. And I hope that Stott's smartened up to the point where he'll play Hollis Jefferson even 11, 12 minutes a game, just enough to not have to have minus 15 and his canner in there.
Yeah, if I was a betting man, I would say that Hollis Jefferson probably replaces Cantor from here on out. It reminds me kind of like when a couple years ago when we stopped playing Al-Farouq Aminu in the playoffs against Denver. We started playing Zach Collins.
Yeah, you're right.
Just matchup wise, it works. And I mean, just on our second unit, we can time it to where we're both small anyways. So there's not a huge disadvantage of not playing a true center. And just he brought energy, and I really think that's what Portland's going to need defensively is active energy and quick hands.
Definitely. I mean, with the way that Denver plays, again, Denver just plays so well as a team. They move the ball around so well. You have to have active guys. And quite frankly, I haven't really seen that outside of Nurk. I thought Nurk showed a lot of fire today, but outside of him, Powell played really good defense. And then when Hollis Jefferson was in, I just don't see the fire from the other guys or also the physical capability from the other guys to match the way that Denver is playing right now. So it's going to be interesting to see where we go from here. Well, John, kind of what are your thoughts kind of heading on for game 4? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, Portland's going to need to come in to game 4 with a must-win mentality. I mean, going down 3-1, going back to Denver, where, I mean, they're, I believe, like 75% capacity and mile up. I mean, that's such a tough situation to put yourself in. So Portland, I mean, you got to imagine they're going to come out with their backs up against the wall. So hopefully intensity helps on defense, and hopefully they can find a way through that to get easier looks. I think that's really a big part of their problems. They're facing a set defense because they can't get stops. But if they're not able to manufacture stops, I mean, I think the game's going to look a lot like tonight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. I definitely want to see Portland swing the ball more in game 4. That's something that we didn't see a lot of in this game until the fourth quarter. We started doing a little bit of a better job with that. We also just started hitting threes too, so that makes any offense look better. But game 1 was one of the few times this year that I really saw us swing the ball and really get a lot of good ball movement. They were really blitzing Dame hard in game 1. Denver was, and Dame was doing a good job getting that first pass out, and then our role players doing a good job getting that second to third pass. And you got to get it out of that primary action. And that's something that I'd like to see Portland do more of. I do think Portland will shoot better percentage in game 4 compared to tonight. I also don't think, again, that Denver's going to shoot 52%.
I hope not.
Unless if they're turning to the Dallas Mavericks, who apparently can't miss any shots.
Killer Austin Rivers. Oh my goodness.
Man, Austin
20 in the 4th. Jeez.
Was it? Yeah, it was. It was 20 in the 4th. Yeah, he finished.
Oh my gosh. That step back 3, that was crazy.
Yeah, he finished 7 of 14, 5 of 10 from 3-point range.
5 of 10.
Austin
5. Rivers hitting 5 threes.
Austin Rivers. So for comparison, Dame shot 5 of 16 from the 3-point line.
Nice.
So
like to see.
Yeah, so that's kind of how the game went tonight. Basically, when you have Austin Rivers shooting at a much greater clip than Damian Lillard percentage wise, you know that the game isn't probably going too well in your favor.
No, unfortunately, probably not. Yeah.
And everybody outside of Shaq Harrison did score a 3-pointer for Denver. So
you said 20 of 38.
20 of 38 for 52%. And one thing we did do better tonight, I'm looking at the stat line here. We actually rebounded really well. We had been getting destroyed on the boards in previous games, and tonight was not one of them. Mainly because
Nurkic was really good on the offensive glass. Very active.
Yeah, and that's something we talked about it briefly, but Nurkic played a really, really, really good game. I thought this was probably the best game I've seen Nurkic play since, honestly, maybe since he came back from his injury. And I know that isn't a losing effort, but he's what even kept us in the game. He was super active on the board. He was getting in passing lanes on defense. He was being really aggressive on Jokic to some degree, the best that he could without fouling. Unfortunately, he fouled out at the end. but just his energy, playing 32 minutes, which is far above what he usually plays. I was very impressed with Yusuf Nurkic tonight, and I thought that he was one of the few reasons why this was even a competitive game at the end.
Yeah, he brought the energy. Portland was missing a lot of shots, unfortunately, couldn't get a lot to fall, and he was keeping a lot of possessions alive. Even just some of the ones he wasn't able to complete the offensive rebounds, there was like 5 or 6 in the second quarter where he was just able to keep tipping it off the glass and just kind of causing havoc down low on the boards. So it was really good to see Yusuf Nurkic be so active and to play a good full game, even though it is another game that he has fouled out in. I mean, it's just such a tough matchup for him to have to go up defensively against Denver's best player and the likely MVP of the league, and to try and have to give a go and be an effective offensive player as well.
Yeah, definitely. I just want to say thank you to Not Swift for tuning in. Go Blazers. I appreciate appreciate the comments on there. And yeah, I think that heading into game 4, again, I'm not going to make a prediction, but I do think that we're going to see probably the most aggressive and energetic version of the Blazers that we're going to get. So whether that ends up in a win or a loss, that's to be decided. But yeah, we'll see what happens here coming up on Saturday. Well, thank you for tuning in to our live post-game reaction of the Portland Trail Blazers versus Denver Nuggets. If you don't know about us, Y Ball Starters, we're a podcast. We do live post games after Blazer games, but we also have our own podcast on Spotify, where we a lot of times either it's just me, John, and then our third co-host, Drew Lawson. We also have our correspondent who used to play D1 ball at Oregon University, Casey Benson. He hops on semi-occasionally with us. We also bring on a lot of D1 players and coaches, and we have a couple very exciting D1 players and coaches coming up very soon. So definitely subscribe to us if you aren't already. We're here on YouTube. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at Y Ball Starters. And then our Spotify is also at Y Ball Starters. So thank you so much for tuning in, and go Blazers.
Peace.